Hey, what's up, Alpha Gang? It is Mike from AlphaGenPerformance. Today is ISC Suspension N1 Coilover Day. So we're doing the install today. So we're going to take you through all the steps, go through the process, and take it out of the road. I know I'm going to have to get an alignment and stuff after that, but definitely get my initial thoughts on how the car felt. And kind of what I did for adjustments just to feel it out as well too. From my unboxing video that we did before, just to get some of you guys caught up to speed if you haven't watched that video or whatnot. I went with sport valving as well as 10K spring rates in the front and then 7K in the rear. So that's what we're doing today, and we'll see you in a little bit. Stay tuned, guys. Dustin's garage, just making some room in the garage, and we'll pull the car in and get started. So even though I'm on lowering springs right now, I still have to put it up on blocks because I think when we drop it afterwards, we're still gonna have issues. There's Dustin just pulling up his car. Just made room to get my car in, have lots of working space, but yeah, just put all four on blocks just to be safe for now, and we'll start getting at it. So this video is going to be more of a simple install guide, and just so everybody knows, I'm not a professional mechanic, just a garage mechanic. So we'll take you through these steps shown in the video. These ones, it's pretty easy to install. Do the front, you're taking off the strut bar mount, and then there's these two bolts down and below that you also have to remove. And then of course there's the ones for the end link, which they do provide you new end links as well. So there's one at the bottom as well. And just on the side, you also have this brake line. You'll just have to remove there too. So those are pretty much the main components to remove in the front. And for the rears, we're gonna do these two right here. Same with the bottom, just on the other side. If you come down here, we'll just compress this a bit to take some tension off this arm as well. And then that should also help us get the spring when we drop this down as well. Okay, so now back to the front, remove those two bolts. I also recommend leaving the 3 top strut tower nuts on just until the last step when you're removing the front suspension. This is just going to hold your front suspension on while removing all the components of the bolts. And here you see us remove the brake line from the side, and it's just out of the way here for us. Now we're ready to pull that front strut out, and this kind of gives us an idea what the new and the old ones look like after we finally have pulled it out. So yeah, they look really good. As for set and preload, what I'm doing here is just adjusting it and moving the spring up about 5 millimeters, or roughly about the width of a spanner wrench. So I'm just messing around here trying to get that spanner wrench to fit properly. So yeah, that looks good. So we're just going to tighten up this other collar, and we will just make sure it's nice and snug. And then after that's done, we're going to use this anti-rust grease, and it should be good. So this part's a bit of trial and error. All I'm doing is just trying to adjust where I think the right height might be from where my lowering springs were, because I wanted to kind of keep it to a similar height. So I'm just matching up to my stock springs, or the stock setup, and seeing how it goes there. So, and then I'll just lock it up and then put it on, and we'll go from there. Setting up the adjustment for dampening before some of these are going on. Could do it later, but just gonna set them up now. So we take this little rubber stopper out, and then the dampening goes in. You just push it in and then click it with each click. So it's 32 clicks, and just go all the way. And I just went to 16 just to set it in the medium. So go all the way soft and then moved it up 16 spots. So now that we had the dampening or rebound adjusted, now we're finally going to be putting them up. As you can see, we didn't take the strut bar completely off. We just needed to loosen off the strut. So now we're just adjusting it and try to feed it in through these holes here. It does come with hardware as well too, so there's new nuts that are included up top. But we'll still keep the old ones, and then I'll just put it on my old setup, and then whoever wants to buy my old lowering springs stuff can have that. In the description, we'll also be providing all the torque specs for all the components and the nuts and bolts that we had to basically remove and reinstall. So that way you can have everything torqued back to the proper spec as you reinstall all these bolts and nuts on your car. Right here we're just putting the end link on because now that the front suspension is pretty much almost attached, we want to make sure that this end link is good to go. You'll notice this little part right here. To get it fully snug, you'll have to use like a wrench or a needle nose pliers to hold it when you tighten it as well too. So. Now the other side's good, so we're going to tighten that side as well. Make sure everything's nice and snug. Alright, time to bolt it up. So we're just fighting with this a little bit. Spinning it on there, and there we go. So we got that on there. We put the bolts down there to secure it, and then on the other side, once you get those attached, you can see where the brake line is. So you'll have two different spots to attach those on your coilovers. I think we'll probably put it on the bottom there, and we'll attach it to those. I'll just pull the bolt out and then attach it to that part as well too. So there it is attached. Looks pretty good. Fitment's really nice. Everything's good so far. That just goes to show kind of how the end link should look. We just got to tighten it up as well too. So that's how you'll know. It won't fit if you put it the other way, because that side will not fit in that other channel. So yeah, that's how it'll look. So here we're just using Allen key to tighten up the end links that are provided by ISC Suspension. This is pretty nice because then you don't have to actually use the pliers to snug it up like the stock ones were. How we had to put them right in that little spot before with the old ones, with your stock ones. But this one, yeah, you just use the Allen key, and that way you can get them nice and snug. So now just double checking, make sure everything looks good. So my end links are good, brake line is all fastened again, and then of course the two nuts right here are fastened properly and tight, and then we'll just end up torquing them to spec, as I mentioned in the description. So now we're just measuring the front, and then we'll just match it up on the other side as well to make sure everything lines up, and we'll start taking apart the rears. So you'll need a 19mm socket for the bottom here, and you'll also require two 14mm sockets for the two top parts there. And we'll also have to loosen up the sway bar end links on the rear too to drop that spring out. So we got everything removed. That part was a bit of a pain. We had to use a screwdriver to pry it loose once the bolts are out. But we got the sway bar end link out. That's loosened up, same with the other bolts. So now with that loosened, we just pretty much pull it right out, just like that. We'll need to reuse the top piece of that, so don't get rid of all of that just yet. We'll need that piece, and I'll show you right up here as well. Stock one versus the new one. You also have to reuse the top of this as well too, just by taking off that nut. And then you can reuse this piece that'll end up having on this as well too, to bolt up to the rear there. So now everything's loose. We're gonna pull this spring out. It's not quite low enough, so we're just gonna pry that spring out just to get it out. So we're just gonna, like a screwdriver or a pry bar or anything, we're just gonna squeeze that spring out like so. So we pull that out. There's going to be a rubber piece at the bottom of your old spring that goes at the bottom of that suspension assembly. We're going to keep that, so we're going to just take that piece that's going to line up the same way as when we took it out, and then your new spring is going to fit in there as well too. So it'll just fit right in this little pocket right where we removed it, and the holes will line up properly. So yeah, we'll put that in there, and then the new spring will sit in there as well too. So just like the fronts, and kind of guesstimating on where the ride height's going to be, this is how you're going to adjust the rears for the ride height. So we're just kind of setting it. We went about an inch from the top there. There's also going to be a rubber piece that you're going to apply to the top before you put the spring in, but we're going to go with this for now. So you're going to have to adjust your preload as well too. So we got the spring in, but up top we were having issues getting this dampener in, so we're actually just going to push up on the bottom
and do our preload adjustments a little bit different, opposite. So with everything in, we jacked it up from the bottom, and just on your spring, you're going to get like 5 to 10 millimeters of preload, and then you're going to attach your dampeners. So you saw us there before, just tightening up the end link bolt, and now this is the final stage. We're just adjusting this to match up with the bottom bolt, and then our preload is set, and then we'll just tighten up everything, and we should be good to go.
I think we're gonna have to make an adjustment on the car. The rear sits pretty good with how the coils are set up. The back driver's side rear will have to adjust a little bit, but this is pretty nice fitment. But the front, I don't think we're gonna leave it like this. So yeah, we're gonna adjust this and then get our fitment a little bit better here. Just to give you an idea how this is more than a fist. I can fit probably a fist and a half in the front, but the rears look really good. Yeah, there's just a finger gap, which is pretty nice. But yeah, at this height, you can definitely see how nice the coilovers look in the front. But yeah, we'll show you a video when it's all finished up and adjusted. Almost done. And so we're gonna have to go in through here, loosen this collar up again, and then make our adjustments, and then reset this as well again afterwards.
So this next part was a learning experience for sure. Rear we got set up good, but however the front, when we made the adjustment, it was too big of an adjustment on one side, and of course adjusting it that much on one side is going to affect the other by a lot. So where we thought we were going to get it to the right ride height, by going this aggressive of a change and bottoming it out, it was way too low in rear rubbing. So if you're adjusting one side quite a bit, make sure you adjust the other one equally at the same time to save you hassle.
Hello again, Alpha Gang. So we got the car back. Everything turned out really good. It took a lot longer than expected. The install overall wasn't too bad, but making all the final adjustments, especially in the front, as you saw before with that monster truck height, and then having to dial in what the height we wanted, was a bit of trial and error. You're pretty much, you know, changing the adjustments on the spring, and then putting the car back down, seeing how it sits, and then making the adjustments again until you get something that you're happy with anyways for ride height. So this is kind of how it sits right now. The fronts are good. They only have like about a finger gap in the front, and the rears are perfect as well. I really love it. They sit really, really well. So nice and snug. But overall, it makes the car look so good. I came from lowering springs before, as some of you guys know, and I thought that was a nice difference if you're just looking at closing in some of that gap for your wheels and tires, or aftermarket wheels and tires. If you're not too sure what coilover brand to go with, I thought for the cost of lowering springs, it wasn't too bad there. But now that I finally found a good set of coilovers that I really wanted in these ISC Suspension N1 Coilovers, I'm stoked. I've been driving around for a little bit before I had to put it away for the winter. And I had it, as I mentioned in the video, I had it set to about 16 clicks hard for the dampening, or the rebound setting there. And I found it wasn't too bad, but I think I almost want to go full hard on it. So I'll probably end up adjusting the dampening. Of course, I'll have to pull that rear shock out because the dampening is adjusted on the very top there. And then I'll just put it back in and go from there. But yeah, I'm really loving the suspension. So thanks a lot to the guys over at ISC Suspensions. They've been great and helping me with any questions I had, especially when I was trying to choose just with the valving, the spring rates and such, that would suit my needs for both track and the street as well. So hit them up if you have any questions as well. I'd also like to thank Dustin, as always, for helping me out with some of these installs, and his dad also came out too. So thanks a lot, Dwayne, for the help. Definitely appreciate it. But yeah, if you are looking at getting a set for yourself, you can go down in the description. I have a link to the ISC website, and if you use Alpha5 as a discount code, you get 5% off of any order, suspension, or anything else that they offer. And they'll also throw in some coilover covers as well too, so that's always a nice bonus. And I'm really happy with how everything everything turned out. They look really good, they feel great, definitely a lot more planted compared to lowering springs. Sure, it closed the gap, but lowering springs only do so much. It still kind of gives you a bouncy ride. It's a little bit better than stock with slightly better spring rates, but going with a proper coilover setup makes the biggest difference, especially if you care more than just say ride height and making it look good. If you actually want better handling, it's just going to grip to the roads a lot better, and that way you can get the most out of your car from a performance aspect as well too. So hit that link in the description if you would like to, of course, order your own set, as well as in the description, as I mentioned earlier in the video, we have all the torque specs that are needed. So when you're buttoning everything up, tightening up all those last minute bolts and such, you can torque them to the proper spec as well too, so everything's nice and safe. Another thing, of course, you'll definitely want to do after you get everything dialed in perfect how you like it is send your car off to an alignment. You're going to want to get that done because your alignment's definitely going to go out and it's going to be pretty whack, so you want to get that done. So if you did like the video, if it helped you at all, especially if it's your first time maybe doing coilovers or whatnot, hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely appreciate it. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Thanks.